Welcome to the lesson. I'm going to show you power chords. Power chords are very dominant in just about all of rock, a lot of metal, and even other styles of music. They're everywhere, but especially rock and metal. Power chords. It's basically you pick a note and you play a perfect fifth interval simultaneously. So let's pick C. So I got my index finger on the 3rd fret, 5th string. Now the 5th of that, if we follow that scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 1, 5. Play them together. That's a power chord. And you can play that anywhere, it doesn't matter. Power chords, you can do them anywhere. They sound really cool. Now, there's going to be 3 different ways that I want you to practice playing this power chord. You can repeat the first note, which would be the octave. So you've got root, 5th, octave. It's the octave, right? Same note, just an octave difference. So root, 5th, octave. That's it. Now notice there's no 3rd tone in this, so these power chords, they're very versatile and useful because they're neither major or minor. There's no 3rd tone. There's nothing else, actually. You could even use a 7th tone in some instances to determine if it's major or minor. But the 3rd is the one that's decisive. The 3rd tone is going to dictate if something is major or minor, and this does not have that. It doesn't have anything but the 5th tone. So because the 5th is perfect, that 5th is going to be used, whether it's major or minor, that 5th is going to be in the same location. That's why the power chord is so heavily used and so versatile. Now the 3 ways I want you to practice this, well, the first way I just showed you first. It's going to be with the index finger and the ring finger. You're only playing those 2 strings. That's the easiest way. The second way is going to be you bar this finger, the ring finger, so that you're playing 3 strings. You're playing the root, 5th, octave. And the third way is going to be you're bringing your pinky, you're not barring anything. It's going to be just like the first way, like that, but you're going to bring in the pinky instead of barring that finger. So it's like this. It's the same thing as this, where you're barring that finger. It's good to be versatile and be able to play it any way that you want. So practice those 3 ways when you're doing these power chords. Now I'm going to show you a piece of a song. This is based off of Rock You Like a Hurricane by the Scorpions. It's very simple, and it's all power chords. So it's perfect for this lesson. Starts up here. It's all power chords. Practice it all 3 ways. And I'll have this all tabbed out for you so you can figure it out, but that's a power chord. It's that same pattern, root, 5th, and then the optional octave. Here's what it sounds like with distortion. Now, when you start playing with distortion, you can buy distortion pedals. They've got a ton of distortion pedals out there. You just pick the one that I guess you think sounds the best, whichever one has the warmest tones. Gosh, the one that I have is the GNX3. It's pretty cool. Digitech makes some really good distortion pedals. So does Boss. I'm sure your local music center guy or girl can help you pick out a really good distortion pedal if that's something you're interested in. But when you play with distortion, it's going to force you to keep strings that aren't being played under control, because if those strings that aren't being played aren't being muted by something, they're going to come through and it's going to make the sound kind of muddy-like, and the sound isn't going to sound exactly how you want it to, because there's going to be other noise coming through from those other strings that aren't being muted. So if I'm only going to play, let's say I'm only going to play these 2 strings here, I don't want the rest of the strings to come through if I'm not going to play them, and they will come through unless they're muted. So it's just something that you got to adapt to and get used to, and when you do, it sounds really good. So it's not a big deal at all. But practice this stuff with and without distortion, like the Scorpions melody. The Scorpions power chord progression. And the next part, it's kind of cool too. It sounds like this. And with distortion, sounds pretty cool. So practice all that both ways. I shouldn't neglect to show you the open power chords because they sound really cool. Now, open meaning that there's going to be an open string, just like with regular chords, there's fretted ones and open ones. Well, same thing with power chords. Like we got the C one here, both notes are being fretted. Now let's say I drop back and I do an A power chord, or an A5. If you're reading tab books, they'll often refer to power chords as A5, E5, or whatever letter key that it happens to be on. It's going to be something 5 because it's root 5, an optional octave. So we're going to drop down to the open A, which is that, and we're going to fret the 5, which is that. So it's going to sound like this. So I'm only fretting one note, I'm playing 2 strings, and it's so easy to play and it sounds really cool. And if you drop down to E5, the E power chord, sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Well, I'm just playing the bottom note open, with the bottom string, the 6th string, that's the E string, and then the 5th interval together. That sounds really good. Now, how I'm getting that sound, this, it's called palm muting. That's really important, both with clean guitars and distorted guitars. If I do it clean, it's going to sound like this. I'm using the fleshy part of my palm right here, kind of on the side. Now you're going to have to tinker around with this until you get it right, but it's just something that you got to adjust to and get used to help you get going in the right direction. I'm using the fleshy part of my palm, kind of on the side, but kind of diagonal-like. And it's back here by the bridge. Now I can alter how this is going to sound based on the position of my hand. The further away that it is from the bridge, well, here's what it's going to sound like. I'm going to start picking, palm muting, and my hand is going to be just about over the bridge, and then it's going to be before the bridge, and I'm going to move it further and further and further away from the bridge, and you're going to hear what it sounds like, how you can manipulate the sound. Now I'm going to move my hand back closer to the bridge again. See how that changes. Most people play it with their hands closer to the bridge just because, well, it sounds cool. And that's palm muting for you. It's just something that you gotta tinker around with and find what works for you and what sounds best. But it's going to be somewhere in here and probably closer to the bridge. So keep those in mind as you're playing with that and have fun with it. And when you come across something that sounds really cool, write it down, record it, remember it. There could be a songwriter within you. That concludes today's lesson. Practice. And practice the Scorpions chord progression, the power chord progression with the metronome. I didn't show you with the metronome, but practice with the metronome.